Boston. It is an expensive place to live, to start a business, to own real estate, right? There's a lot of challenges, but at the same time, it's like, well, look at it has to offer. Probably worth that investment.
I don't think I'd want to know how much it costs to park the car in Boston.
Well, you know what? Some of the cheapest parking actually is at the convention center. So that's good. So for anyone wanting to attend, that they can keep that in mind.
One of the biggest things that companies or medtech companies are dealing with now in the industry are tariffs. That's been a huge topic of discussion.
I think in times of struggles or challenges, it kind of forces people in general to just come together and be closer. And when that happens, it's no longer, hey, give me a quote and a price and a proposal. It's, hey, how do we figure this out together? Because we need each other.
People are as people are moving from the realm of patient to consumer, they need to really, they being medtech companies, really need to get their name out there.
You can't be afraid to let your customer know that, hey, we don't have this capability. We don't really know how to do this. Yeah, could we? Absolutely, right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MedTech Insider, the official podcast of MEDevice Boston 2025. I'm your host, Kyle Cruz, aka the MedTech Missile, and this year's theme for MEDevice Boston is Engineered to Advance, and we're bringing you exclusive conversations with the innovators, leaders, and storytellers driving this year's event. If you're interested in attending MEDevice Boston, you can get your free Expo Pass and 10% off the conference by visiting www.meddeviceboston.com and use code INSIDER at checkout. Okay, let's get this party started. Today's guests are two industry veterans from MDDI who play a significant role in shaping how stories in the space are told. Our first guest is Omar Ford. Omar is a seasoned journalist and editor-in-chief of MDDI, widely recognized as a leading voice in medtech. He covers healthcare innovation, regulatory shifts, and emerging technologies shaping the future of the industry. Omar is also a featured speaker at MD&M and MedDevice events, as well as the host of Let's Talk MedTech. Our other guest is Amanda Peterson. Amanda Peterson is an award-winning journalist and senior editor at MDDI. She's the editor behind MedTech in a Minute and the author of Peterson's POV, a two-time Neil Award-winning columnist known for sharp industry commentary. With nearly 2 decades covering the medtech space, Amanda brings trusted insight and a fearless voice to the conversations shaping the industry. Omar, Amanda, wow, that was a mouthful, but welcome to the show.
Thanks
for having
Kyle.
us.
Great to be here.
Yeah, no, this is really exciting. I mean, this is a first for MedDevice Boston here, and it's just really exciting that we're coming together to really generate more awareness and interest around this year's show, driving more demand, because we all know the name of the game here is bringing this community, bringing the industry together, and delivering real value. So yes, I am super stoked to be talking with both of you. And first, let's just talk about this whole Boston medtech ecosystem, right? And what I'm super curious about, and Amanda, we'll start with you, but what is it about Boston that makes it such a magnet for medical device innovation?
Well, Kyle, I think Boston has emerged as one of the top 3 medtech hubs in the country due to a powerful convergence of factors that create an ideal environment for medical device innovation. And I think it starts at the academic level. You certainly have a lot of academic and research excellence in the greater Boston area with institutions like MIT and Harvard. On top of that, you have some of the nation's leading academic hospitals and research centers. You've got Mass Gen, Brigham and Women's Women's Hospital, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. I could go on and on. But I think also you have that, and then combined with that, the ecosystem is further strengthened by support from a lot of innovation incubators and accelerators that are really laser focused on medtech, medical devices, and development in the space, robust VC community, and then organizations like MassMedic that serve as strong, supporters and advocates for the sector.
Yeah, you did a really good job. I mean, when you think about it, it's like literally everything you can imagine medtech right here. So it does make so much sense why companies come here, or why people just come to Boston in general to pursue a career in medical device. So Omar, I'm curious, right? Because we're always talking too about sometimes there's some challenges, right, that companies and organizations will face in medtech. And I'm just curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that medtech companies are navigating really in Boston today?
I think the Boston area shares some of the same issues that we have across the nation. And one of the biggest things that companies or medtech companies are dealing with now in the industry are tariffs. That's been a huge topic of discussion. Companies are planning for, how much are we going to have to spend? How much are we going to pay out in the tariffs? What kind of business is that going to cost us? I think that's one of the biggest issues that the industry is facing. Their issue, I would say, is just an uncertain regulatory climate, right? You have EU MDR, which it's been pretty tough on some companies, especially those smaller ones, right? And FDA right now, because of the different shifts that have been going on, companies are saying, well, will approval time or clearance time take a little bit more time than usual? I think those are some of the biggest issues that the industry as a whole are facing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I mean, when you talk about costs too in general, I mean, and you think about Boston, I mean, Boston, it is an expensive place to live, to start a business, to own real estate, right? There's a lot of challenges, but at the same time, again, like to Amanda's point, it's like, well, look at it has to offer. Probably worth that investment. And I think that's why we've actually seen too, when you think about Medtronic specifically, I know that they just built this beautiful robotic kind of innovation center that's right in Seaport, where they do all of the R&D and the manufacturing for their Hugo robot. It is super cool, right? But it makes sense why they want to have that here. I mean, you get access to top caliber people. The hospitals are right there, right? And I think even with the challenges of costs, whatever it is, and even with the tariffs, I mean, you just still, it's like that light shines through, and Boston still is a mecca and a hub really for medtech in general,
I would agree.
Absolutely. I don't think I'd want to know how much it costs to park the car in Boston.
Well, what some of the cheapest parking actually is at the convention center. So that's good. So for anyone wanting to attend, that they can keep that in mind. So now I want to move on really and talk about now, because at MEDevice Boston, obviously a big part of the show is not just the OEMs that are attending, right? I mean, you think about all the big major OEMs, right here in the greater Boston area, from Boston Side to Olympus to Medtronic to J&J. You really do have them all. And the cool part is it's like their business teams, their executive level. It's like, and you get your R&D and innovation too. You just get the whole breadth of it, right? But there's also the supplier side, the contract manufacturing side, right? That really makes the whole ecosystem work. And I want to talk a little bit about the relationships between OEMs and their suppliers or partners, and kind of how those relationships are evolving. So Amanda, I'm just curious, let's chat about this, right? Because I mean, relationships are everything, especially in MedDevice, right? So I think between this show in general, right, and how it's bringing them together, what are you seeing from these types of partnerships and relationships?
Well, I definitely agree with you, Kyle, as far as I think the relationships are getting stronger between OEMs and suppliers. I think that's driven by some of the types of pressures that Omar mentioned that are facing the industry in general, and the fact that OEMs are beginning to realize their suppliers and contractors can help offset some of those pressures. in mutually beneficial ways. And when you're talking about supply chains and some of the issues with supply chains and tariffs and all of those challenges, I think now OEMs are streamlining, they're gaining better visibility into their supply chain thanks to the pandemic and the supply chain crisis that came out of that. So as they're getting more visibility, it's kind of a light bulb moment for the OEMs saying, oh, yeah, these guys are in our supply chain and they can help with this. And they, so I think that's really helping to drive those stronger relationships and partnerships.
It's really interesting. And Omar, I definitely want you to chime in on this, but I love how you brought that up, Amanda, because I think in times of struggles or challenges, it kind of forces people in general to just come together and be closer. And when that happens, it's no longer, hey, give me a quote and a price and a proposal. It's, hey, how do we figure this out together? Because we need each other, right? So Omar, yeah, please.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of our contributors, our regular contributors, describes it best. Kate Stevenson, she's with Dyad Engineering. She's a consultant. She calls it like a dating relationship whenever you work with a contract manufacturer and the OEMs and the suppliers. And she kind of talks about this little dance that they do. And shout out to Kate Stevenson. She's Dr. Kate Stevenson. She's awesome. She's amazing. But that relationship, it has to be so tight knit. It has to be so close. You have to have an understanding. You have to have great communication. And if you've ever been in a relationship, if you've ever been married, or dating or what have you, you have to always be communicating with your partner. And I think that is what I see happening now, especially now that we're moving past COVID and we're now in this connected world, right? Where we're talking to each other, where we don't necessarily have to go on site, but we can just talk to each other via Teams or via whatever platform that you have. I think that you're seeing more and more OEMs and contract manufacturers communicate more often. And I think that's the lifeblood of the relationship right now. It's definitely more communication.
You nailed it. And I mean, and with communication, there's honesty. And I know that even from my 10 years that I spent on the contract manufacturing side, right, and building these relationships with OEMs, what I realized is that you can't be afraid to let your customer know that, hey, we don't have this capability. We don't really know how to maybe do this. Yeah, could we? Absolutely, right? And I think what happens is, and in my experience, when we did that, what we found too during these times is that sometimes our OEMs they valued us so much and they appreciated us so much and they appreciate that honesty and the communication that they were like, you know what? We want you to grow with us and we're willing to make investments in your business, meaning they would actually help us buy certain equipment. They would help us learn how to do things that we weren't able to do, but they knew by helping our business do that, we were only able to do better work for them. And then our company was only going to grow because of that. And that means when you're growing, there's a little bit more, I'm losing my train of thought, but there's typically a little bit more security and just the safety net there, knowing like, hey, as long as you have a successful supplier and partner over here, they're not going anywhere. And that's right. What they truly want, right?
Makes sense.
Awesome. So, all right. Well, I want to now just round things off here and talk about just kind of maybe some advice, right, that you would offer to medtech companies kind of seeking to increase their exposure in the industry, right? Because at the end of the day, you guys are from MDDI. This is what you guys do, right? This is how you help companies, right? There's no one that knows this area best. So, I mean, what are maybe some common mistakes that you see companies that might be making when they're trying to get more coverage or attention, or, are there angles that you see them taking that actually benefit them? What could you share with us?
I'm going to go a little bit different route with this. And I was thinking about it. I'm looking down. I was just thinking about this just in my head as you were asking the question. But one of the main things that I see for MedTech is they need to steal a page out of pharma's book, and they need to do more commercials. They need to become, as people are becoming, as people are moving from the realm of patient to consumer,
Mhm.
they need to really, they being medtech companies, really need to get their name out there. I remember Dexcom a couple years ago, they had, was it Nick Jonas? I'm going to
Yes.
totally forget which
No, you're
Jonas
right.
brother it
It's
was.
Nick.
But yeah, Nick Jonas was doing a commercial for them. And instantly there's brand recognition for continuous glucose monitors, right? Intuitive Surgical, they have the Da Vinci robot. I haven't seen any commercials, but they're kind of known. Any surgical robot that comes out, it's just generically, people are going to say, oh, is that the Da Vinci? Now they could be totally wrong. It could be something else. But because the Da Vinci resonates, because it's such a strong brand from Intuitive, when people think surgical robot, they think Da Vinci. So it's kind of like the Coca-Cola of of surgical robots, right? But
Yeah.
medtech companies really need to get their name out there with branding, and they really need to work on their brands. And we see commercials all the time, about some, from pharma. We see all kinds of commercials all times of night, in the morning. MedTech needs to kind of steal a page from that book, and they need to be more open and more outward with their branding, in my opinion.
I love
Yeah.
that. Amanda, what do you got?
Well, I think one of the common mistakes I see a lot is, we get a lot of press releases. So many that, unfortunately, we probably don't actually see every press release that lands in our inbox. But a lot of times they're pretty short, pretty skimpy. They might be announcing a new gadget or even a new feature on an existing gadget. And that's fine. It's okay to promote this type of news. But if you really want to snag media attention, better approach might be to flush it out a bit more and pitch it to reporters in a way that helps them see the bigger picture and how this new gadget fits into a larger trend in the industry or fulfills an unmet need. And also, on the flip side of that, I would just say that there's some organizations out there that I do see doing a really good job at building up their in-house influencers, if you will, or thought leaders, and increasing their exposure and awareness in those more organic ways. For example, Etienne Nichols from Greenlight Guru is really good at this. He has a strong presence on LinkedIn. He has a podcast. His posts are both fun to read. They're full of personality. Like you really feel like you know him just by following him on LinkedIn. And they're also educational. And so he's doing is he's building awareness in the industry for Greenlight Guru services without being overly promotional about it. It's exposure in that natural, organic way that really resonates with people in the industry.
Spot on, and I think, Amanda, like that brings, what Etienne's doing. And obviously, like, I couldn't agree anymore because I too am trying so hard to help bring insight and value, just like you guys are doing. We're all doing this, right? That's why we're here today on this show, because we want to bring valuable insight that actually people listen to and go, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Yes, I see that. Oh, wow, that's something I can do today and go make that happen. And where did they learn it? They learned it from us. And I think Etienne does an amazing job. There's so many great people out there. And going back to Omar, what you were saying, it's like people deserve to know what their treatment options are out there. And with MedTech and medical device specifically, I know, again, from my past 10 years, I've seen devices that are coming to market. They're now entering the market today, and many are about to hit the market in the next 5 to 10 years. And these are minimally invasive devices that are performing certain types of procedures that are mitigating and even eliminating the need for medication. And when you think about something like that, right, from men's health to women's health, cancer, it like oncology, whatever it is, there's so much out there that the general public simply has no idea about. And the problem is that a lot of doctors out there are only like, they can only speak to what they do. And if there's nowhere else for the general public to learn, how in the world are they supposed to learn it? That was a big reason why I used to do Missiles MedTech Minute 5 years ago. That's what kind of put me on the scene, because I wanted to share knowledge and break it down for everyday people to help them understand and say, do you know that there's this aqua ablation technology to treat BPH, out here? Like, it's pretty amazing. And you wouldn't know this because no one's talking about it. So I think you guys really both nailed it there with that last one. And let's see more of these companies do a better job at educating their customers. And let's see a lot more suppliers and contract manufacturing partners in the industry do a better job, just like Etienne, educate the OEMs on how they can be better. So I really do that. So let's wrap it up real quick here. I had a feeling we were going to maybe run a little bit longer because this is just too much fun and there's so much good stuff to talk about. But you know what? We're just going to keep it with one question at the end, okay? And what I want to talk about is, let's just break it down. Amanda, we'll start with you, but what are you most excited about for MedDevice Boston 2025?
Well, I'm excited about some of the fireside chats that'll be in the afternoon. And there's also going to be a new awards luncheon on day 2. And so I'm really excited about that. It's in the early planning phases. So unfortunately, I can't share a lot of specifics or details about what that's going to look like. I'm just excited to find out. But Omar and I are both working in collaboration with our events team to kind of help bring that together. And so I'm very excited about that and really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to, and Amanda, can we mention, is this breaking news coming up?
Breaking news, Omar. Let's go.
No, yeah, go for it.
No, Amanda, I'm going to pass it to you. I'm going to pass it to you.
See what you did there. Okay.
Amanda, you're on the spot right now.
Always on the spot.
So yeah, we just found out right before this conversation, actually, we've secured Leonie Mathieu, the Chief Safety Officer at J&J MedTech, as one of our keynotes for Boston. And I'm super excited that she's going to be there. I don't know her personally, but just from the brief, checking her out online, she just looks like she's going to have a really fun presence about her. And I think that she'll be able to be one of those people who can make medical device safety sound really fun and exciting. Because it's important. It's important. It's the peas and carrots.
Yes.
It's peas and carrots. It's got to be there. But I think that when you can have those peas and carrots and make them really fun too, fun to digest, that's even better.
That's the beauty of the event, right? That's what I look forward to. I look forward to the great speakers. Of course, I look forward to the education. I look forward to just walking the floor and seeing the innovations and really talking to suppliers and saying, hey, what's going on? How's your year been? What's going on with you? Just shaking hands and having that presence. I think a lot of times we don't travel as much, right? Because of just the way we can't meet everybody. In these events, it's a way to just meet, interact with just our audience, with the industry that we cover, and the key opinion leaders. And that's what I look forward to each year.
Yeah, those kismet opportunities too, that you just aren't even expecting. You would never even think about and imagine. And all of a sudden, it's every year. You show up, you put in the effort, and you come away with something that, you walk out of the place with a feeling of excitement and passion and a new energy, like, wow, that was amazing. And that's what I love about the show too. So spot on.
That's how we met. We met at a show a couple years back. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I've seen you plenty of times speaking, and every time I'm always like, oh yeah, let's go, Omar. I love it, man. So you're right. Okay, guys. Well, hey, this was a really fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today and really being the first guests ever on MedTech Insider. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Kyle. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
yes,
thanks.
It's been amazing.
Awesome. All right. Another huge thank you to our guests, Omar and Amanda, for joining us on MedTech Insider. Until next time, don't forget to use code INSIDER for your free Expo Pass and 10% off the conference. And remember, we're all engineered to advance. See you next time.